What's up, political vigilantes? You're watching the show. My name is Graham Elwood. Progressive Comedy Tour. We're coming to Florida, January 9th through the 12th. Gainesville, Coral Gables, Orlando. You might know it as Jamlando. And Jacksonville. Go to grahamelwood.com for tickets. A lot of those shows are probably going to sell out. Please join us. Support the tour. Support what we're doing. Another way to support the show is Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/GrahamElwood, you can submit topics like this that was submitted by Jazmin Man, talking about how neoliberalism has invaded medical science. And one of the things, and she wrote this very lengthy, which I appreciate, is this. So there's, oh, we got to get the logo popping. Look at that. Come on now. 85% of medical research funding goes to false or useless studies. There's several articles, and I'm going to go through each one a little bit. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes below. But it's pretty, like, it makes a lot of sense. Because that's the thing, when somebody always says, oh, there's this new study, and it's like, why? Why are they doing that? Who's doing that? What are they pushing? What do they want me to buy or not to buy? So this is how they do it. This is in one of the articles. So there are many millions of papers of clinical research. Approximately 1 million papers from clinical trials have been published to date, along with tens of thousands of systematic reviews. Most of them are not useful. What? Waste across medical research, clinical or other type, has been estimated as consuming 85% of the billions spent each year. We don't need Medicare for all. Healthcare industry's doing fine on its own, guys. They're doing great. We don't need to regulate them. Let them keep making money because they're spending it well. They're spending it well. I have previously written about why most publicized research is false and how to make more of it true. In order to be useful, clinical research should be true, but this is not sufficient. Here I describe the key features used in clinical research and the current state of affairs and suggest future prospects for improvement. Again, I'll put this link in the show notes so you can, it's very extensive. But then there's even more articles that Jazmin sent us. Editor-in-chief of world's best-known medical journal, half of all literature is false. What? This is crazy. One such authority is Dr. Richard Horton, the current editor-in-chief of the Lancet, considered to be one of the most well-respected peer-reviewed medical journals in the world. This is Dr. Horton's quote. The case against science is straightforward. Much of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may simply be untrue. And usually this is the bullshit they put on CNN or whatever. A new study finds, and it's always some like I remember they were really going after soy milk and all that other stuff, because it was like, I found out, oh, the American Dairy Council was putting it out there. Or like, climate change actually isn't that bad, a new study finds. Who paid for it? The American Petroleum Institute. Oh, well, they're good. The American Petroleum, they're good people over there. They're right up there with the NRA and the soulless fucknuts of America. There's another great institute. Go check them out. They're doing good work. Affected by studies with small sample sizes, tiny effects, invalid exploratory analyses, and flagrant conflicts of interest, together with an obsession for pursuing fashionable trends of dubious importance, science has taken a turn towards darkness. And yeah, I mean, of course. And then the corporate media, who's buying their ad time? The companies that are funding these bullshit studies, and they put them out there, and then people just say, oh, well, that's a thing. They're just grabbing some statistic, and hey, there it is, I guess. Medical research is a prime example of neoliberalism. This is a quote from Jazmin. Is a prime example of neoliberalism's racket. With one hand, industry creates sham studies to confuse doctors, and with the other, controls which studies don't get published. The later is industry's more destructive tool of tyranny. By hiding science from the public, these merchants of doubt get to go mainstream media and claim that no science contradicts their profit motive and all evidence that challenges their stock price is anecdotal. I don't know. I think for-profit healthcare is a good thing. You say these like these are bad things. This is the free market. This is capitalism just making everything better. Like, they scam everything. Ugh, it's when they privatize stuff. Like, no doctor should be getting bonuses for pushing a certain prescription. And then that pharmaceutical country, they're practically our countries, they're their own countries, I'm sure they're going to amass armies soon. The pharmaceutical companies then find these studies to push because they know this product will sell. They hide information. This is really good. So here's one of the things that Jazmin, and again, thank you for sending me this. This is such great information. This is why I love doing this show, and I love you political vigilantes for submitting articles that I wasn't aware of. I mean, I suspected this obviously, but I didn't know it was this, like half of them. I mean, and in the other case, 85% of them are just useless or false. They're just wasting research money. Oh God. Because that's the problem with the pharmaceutical companies is they don't want cures. They just want you to keep buying their product. That's the problem with for-profit. That guy I read this quote earlier in the year from Goldman Sachs that funds a lot of these healthcare and pharmaceutical companies and these research things said at a meeting, like a board meeting or something, might even to the stockholders, like, it's bad for our stock price. So curing a disease is not good for business, basically, is what the guy said. Well, at least they said it. 45,000 people a year die in America because they don't have health care. And we're wasting our money on these scammy things. Here's what else Jazmin says. Thank you. Most people just send a link. You send a lot of stuff. I implore my fellow citizens to ask 2 questions the next time you hear the phrase, new study says. Who funded this study? And what do they gain from convincing the public that the findings of these studies are true? Once you start asking these questions, you will understand why the science is so conflicted, why the public is so sick, and why we spend so much money going to doctors who don't know how to cure the pandemic of chronic disease in America. You're going to see... It's one of the things where when I do a story, it's like a study. Usually the studies I'm showing are like a non-for-profit research group found this about the environment or whatever. And I remember talking with friends for a while ago about, this is about Anwar, the wildlife preserve up in Alaska, and about not drilling in it. And I was talking to these 2 guys at lunch. This is years ago. And they said, and I said, it's not, drilling there is bad. You know, I listed all the reasons why drilling up there is bad. They go, where'd you get that information? I go, the Sierra Club. And they went, oh, there you go. And I said, so let me see. I go, where are you getting your information? And they're like, well, this company and that company. I go, so let me see if I got this right. A non-for-profit environmental organization is less believable than ExxonMobil, who only wants profit and will cook the books, whatever you follow the money. That's what I've told you on this show, right? Follow the money. Who's paying for it, right? So that's why it's such a ridiculous argument when people on the right say, oh, you know, it's just like Glenn Beck used to say this bullshit. You know, when he tricked old people into buying gold in a company that he owned, used to say, oh, you know, that these non-for-profits like the World Wildlife Federation and stuff like that, they're just scaring you to make money. And it's like, well, let's stack up the amount of money they're getting in donations next to the trillions of dollars that the oil industry is getting. That'll answer, since that's your barometer, which is a fair one. Who's profiting? The oil companies are profiting, right? The pharmaceutical companies are profiting. And that's when you see stuff like this. Is alcohol good for you? An industry-backed study. See, you know, like, oh man, I forget who said it, but they're like, in the future, Doctors won't prescribe medicines. They'll just tell you what foods to eat and how to do preventative care. Because that's how we do medicine in America. You're sick, just take a pill. There's not a lot of like, oh, high cholesterol or whatever, take Lipitor. Don't like, wait a minute. Let's go through all the diet stuff first. And then if none of that works, diet, exercise, like they should be prescribing plant-based life, that foods, you know, like a plant-based diet. That's what they should be prescribing. I remember I had a bladder infection in my 20s. And I found this doctor, and he wasn't some hippie. He was like a right-wing, I mean, he had pictures with Reagan, but he was like kind of old school and like let the body fix itself. And he's like, I'm not gonna give you a prescription unless you really need it. He's like, he gave me the bland diet. He's like, get rid of spices, anything that tastes good, drink cranberry juice every day, that'll fix it. And I remember like, oh, can I just get a prescription? He goes, nah, do this for 2 weeks. If it doesn't go away, then I'll give you a prescription. And I never needed the prescription. So thank you, Jazmin Man, for submitting this article. Thank you all for being political vigilantes, because all of you together are making Gotham great again.